Hey, Grievers and Groovers. How's it going? Happy Wednesday. It's almost March. What the hell? We're on at our new time. We're going to go a little later because I've noticed that people kind of tune in towards the end. So I thought we would try to do an easy top of the hour from now on. I want to know who's watching. I want to know where you're tuning in from. I'm just recovering from an awful cold. Basically, after last week's live, I got immediately ill, and I'm just kind of recovering. But I'm going to give people a few minutes to tune in, but I wanted to tell you of this crazy thing that happened last night. I almost got arrested. And I'm kind of exaggerating, but I'm kind of not. So I'm driving home I was out of town, and I was on the 5 highway. It was at night, and I'm just driving along and listening to my favorite podcast, and I see a police car, like in an SUV, and it starts swerving in front of me, like going from lane to lane. And I was just like, is the policeman drunk? It was very weird. So I slowed down. So I was going now probably about 45 miles per hour, trying to figure out, like, is there a high-speed chase going on that I don't know about? Did an officer have a heart attack and he's just slumped over the wheel and he's going back and forth? And I just wanted to get away from him so I could not be hit by the car. And I didn't know if like a 10-year-old stole the car and didn't know how to drive and was weaving back and forth. It was really kind of scary. And there weren't any cars around me. So I'm just like, and then finally, when the car kind of almost came way too close to hitting me, when it was kind of on my right-hand side, I was behind it on the left-hand side, they had this huge light, and they shone it right in my face, from the driver's side. So I was really confused. I had no idea what was happening. So finally, after, about 5 minutes, and I'm like, should I call 911 and say that there's a police car weaving in front of me? And, but I didn't quite know what to do. I was completely confused. And so I pulled over. I just thought, well, is he trying to pull me over but in front of me? I wasn't speeding before. So anyway, so I pull over to the side of the road, and I slow down really slow, finally end up stopping. Then the rest of the traffic finally catches up with me. So I roll my window down because I want to say to the car next to me, what's happening? Is it just me? And the policeman swerves, does like a Starsky and Hutch thing, flips around, and then says in his loudspeaker, you and the orange bug, and it's me. I'm just like, Ma, what is happening? And he goes, if you attempt to pass me again, I will arrest you and you will be going to jail. I was like, what? And then he said something, I was pooping my pants, quite frankly. I was just like, what is happening? And he basically said something like, I am setting up a road hazard, or there's a road hazard ahead and I'm setting something up or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay, what? And then I was so freaked out, especially because the policeman was being such a jerk about it, and I was very innocently confused. Then the semi truck behind me starts wailing on his horn like, come on, lady, step on the gas. So then I was just like, oh, what do I do? So then the cop kind of turned back around and went ahead. And then there's an area where the highway split, and he went to the right. So of course I went to the left because I didn't want to go anywhere near this policeman. But it scared the crap out of me, and I was shaken. And, I get home and I Google, what does it mean when a cop car swerves or, zigzags in front of you? And apparently everyone else in the world knows this but me. Apparently it means that there's a road hazard, or they're trying to set up a cone situation or something. I don't know. It's like a traffic thing that I never heard happen before in my life. Hey, Sharon. Just talking about how I almost got arrested last night for being stupid. So anyway, it was just crazy. So I'm here as a public service announcement to let you guys know that if you're driving and a police car is zigzagging and going from lane to lane in front of you, that means stay behind. Don't try and pass them. Don't think it's a drunk driver. And they're trying to do something with the traffic. So FYI. Anyway. And rest. It ruined my whole night. I was freaking out. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about, in the news, Kevin Smith, the film director. He's 47, and he had a massive heart attack this week. And he was shooting a comedy special, and he was doing 2 shows in one night. Usually they do that, he wears the same outfit and then they film 2 shows and then they can cut, in between if like a joke went better in one show than the other, that kind of thing. Little industry showbiz tip. And apparently after his first show, and he said all of this on Facebook, he went live and told the whole story. Well, he posted the story, first of all, from the hospital bed. And then the next day he went live and talked about it. And it was great. It was really interesting and very filthy because I don't know if you know the director, Kevin Smith, but he likes the F-bomb and the filth, which I'm a big fan of. But anyway, he felt sick after his first show and he threw up, and basically he thought he drank some bad milk or something, and his friends luckily took him to the hospital, and the doctors informed him he was having a massive heart attack. And it turns out that the artery that they call the widowmaker was 100% blocked. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, hey John from Ohio. What's round at the edges and high in the middle? What? We're talking about the director, Kevin Smith, who just had a massive heart attack and he's okay. But when he posted about it, I was so moved because he was talking about and relaying how when he was laying there in the emergency room and they were saying, by the way, P.S., you're having a massive heart attack, he thought, man, is this how I'm going? Is this going to be the end? Is how I'm going to die? And he actually discovered that he was at peace with that. He thought, wow, I've had a great life. I've been able to make all of my dreams come true and make a living being creative. And, his relationships with people, he was happy with that. And he was pretty content. And that surprised him as well, as much as having a heart attack surprised him. So I thought that was really beautiful. I was just wondering if any of you guys caught any of that information. If you go to his Facebook page, you can go watch it live that he did from the hospital in a robe. But I'm bringing all of this up, obviously, because he's only 47 years old. And this is why Good to Go is targeting people who are young and healthy, because you never know what can happen. And it's not just health-wise. It's, what if I was driving down the highway yesterday, ignoring the policeman, and then coming upon some kind of huge accident, and then I get in an accident, or whatever. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know when your number's up. So you should make sure that you have your advanced planning completed. You should make sure that everyone in your life who you love knows that you love them. And then I take it a step further and make sure that everyone that you love in your life, you make them know that they love you. Because, you hear all of these things of people in emergencies and they just want to get to the phone and call their mom or, call their loved one and, just tell their loved one that they love them one more time. And the thing is, if you live your life, not like you're going to die any second, because that's a little extreme, although I kind of do that. But because I've just had so much death happen in a short span of time. But it's just, it's good for people to know that your love is being received. It's important to know that you're receiving it, but then also that it's being received on the other end. Anyway, that's what I think anyway. But I'm wondering if you guys, if you guys had to die in 5 minutes or later today, what would you think? Would you be okay? Would you be at peace with how you've lived your life? Hi, Chanel. Chanel says you never know what's around the corner or when your page is up. I tell my babies every day, maybe too much, how I love them. I don't think it's too much. Can it ever be too much? I mean, maybe if you know, never let them go and you're constantly squeezing them like a little stuffed animal, maybe that might be a little extreme. But I always joke that, you know, I make sure that I tell my friends, you know, I appreciate and enjoy you, and I don't hold the compliments back, you know. Life's too short to, you know, go to your grave with all the compliments in the world. I'm an extrovert, so if I'm at Walgreens and I see somebody with a cute shirt on or fun nail polish, you know, I'll be like, love your nail polish, you know. If I could walk around high-fiving people, that's what I would do. I would be one of those annoying people. And because I don't work out, I see somebody jogging past me, I just want to go like, good job, buddy, you know, but then I don't want them to think that I'm weird. Yeah, Chanel says never too much. It's so true. Life is too short. You gotta spread the love when you can and spread it all around. Show. That's the most important thing. Love's all that matters. When you're on your deathbed, you know, you're not going to be thinking about, was I a success, and, you know, did I make all this money, and, you know, all those things. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just love. You know, that's all that matters. It's who you loved and who's loved you. That's it. It's so simple. Chanel, where are you tuning in from? We've got Ohio, we've got San Diego, all over the place. What's going on? I am recovering from a cold. I felt so sick that actually I was pleased that I had my advanced planning done. I called my friend and I was just like, my departure file's on the desk. Yeah. But I'm feeling better now. I'm on the tail end of it. My voice is still a bit weird. Chanel's in the UK. You are up. You are up, you know, early, late. I love the UK. Lived there for 6.5 years in London. I love the UK, and it snowed today there, which was bananas. I saw all these pictures from Glasgow. I couldn't even believe it. And then my friend took a picture of her place in London. She lives right near kind of Chelsea Harbor, took a picture of it, and the snow was covering everywhere. And I did a quick FaceTime with her, and I said, take me to the window. I want to see it snowing. And then literally some English dude on a bicycle was riding by. And I'm like, of course an English person is going to be on a bicycle in a snowstorm. Of course. Yeah, Chanel says we've got bad snow at the moment. Sharon says this flu sucked. Yeah, I wasn't full on flu, thank God. My head was just like a snot factory, and, you know, my head was pounding because of the pressure behind my eyes and all of that. But I've heard that this flu is a pisser. So I hope nobody's illin' out there. I know it's 1:15 a.m. That is crazy, Chanel. I also wanted to share with you guys a huge article that came out and it's on the ASCAP website. I shared it on the Good to Go page, but it's an article that I wrote for music creators and people in the music business, and how important it is for musicians as well as everyday humans to get their advanced planning together. So I'm really proud of it. I shared it on the Good to Go Facebook page, and if you have a musician in your life, please share it with them because it's important. I'm hoping that you guys can see me. I just noticed that the screen went a little jiggity, so I hope that you guys can see me okay and hear me okay. Chanel said that the flu was bad just before Christmas here in the UK. Yeah, I still have so many friends in the UK, and when I was there the year before for Christmas, I got the flu right before Christmas Eve. It was hell. Hey, Meredith, how's it going? Which brings us to the next thing that I was going to talk about. Oh, good. You see me and hear me okay. Thanks, Shazza. A friend who follows the Facebook page, just lost her mom, and I just wanted to get you guys' advice on the early days of grief when you lose someone, and wanted to know, like, any kind of advice you guys have for, just getting through those early days where your brain is still kind of trying to wrap around it, to try to figure it out. Death is so big and so kind of cosmic and traumatizing that when I look back on those early days of, finding out the news, or, maybe your, bedside and your loved one goes, whichever way it happens, it's still such a shock when it happens. And it's so, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's so final. It feels so final. And I just wanted to get your advice and see if you could share any kind of tips to get through it. Sharon says, have no shame with crying all the time. I know. There's no one in the tri-state area that did not see me break down in those early days. I mean, I had a friend come as soon as she found out that my mom had passed. She said, I'm coming by and I'm taking you out to dinner. And I was just like a zombie, and I was like, okay. And, we sat there and, I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, I'll have a cheeseburger and a chocolate milkshake because my mom's dead. It's just like, oh. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just feeling a little emotional over my order, But yeah, just ain't no shame. Ain't no shame in your crying game, for sure. Chanel says it's so raw. I know, right afterwards, it's just so raw. I think it's raw a good couple months afterwards too. So what other tips do you guys have in the early days? Hi, Dawn. I just saw that Dawn's tuning in. Hello. I am good to go. Oh my gosh, that is such a good one. Sharon says, let people do favors for you. Yes. Let people help you. Everyone's going to say, let me know if there's anything you need. And just tell them, I don't know what I'm going to need. Figure it out. Help me. We're just talking, Dawn, we're just talking about any kind of advice or tips that you can give other people who are grieving a loss that's fresh, that like literally when it just happens, like what's some of the best advice you've been given, or what did you find helpful when you've lost someone? I found just talking to other people who lost someone in the same way, whether it was, when my mom died, I wanted to talk to other people who had moms who passed away. If, you've got a sibling that died, then talk to someone who's lost a sibling, because those losses, even though, obviously grief has so many commonalities with it, whatever the loss may be, they are slightly different. Losing a mom is different than losing a partner that's been with you for 40 years, so anyway, we're just trying to, provide some comfort for people who are confused and going through those early days. Chanel says, talk about your loved ones and your memories, etc. Yes, that's it too. I found people are afraid to talk to you about the person that you lost because they don't want to upset you. I said this before, a friend of mine, and it's been 6 years since my mom passed away. And my friend showed me a post on Facebook that a friend of hers had written about her mom passing away, and it got me emotional. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's really beautiful. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to upset you. And by bringing it up, and I just thought, well, it's always there. It's just right here. When you lose someone that you love so much, it's always going to be there on your heart. It doesn't take a lot for the tears to come up, Don says, just had an acquaintance pass away yesterday, out of the blue, young and unexpected. See, this is what I'm talking about. Everybody's got to get their advanced planning done. At the very least, everybody needs a living will where they name a healthcare proxy or a healthcare agent, someone who can make healthcare decisions on their behalf if they are unable or incapacitated. So that just means if you're in a coma, or if you're unable to communicate, name someone that you trust. And I always tell people in the Good to Go parties and consultations, your partner might not be the right person, or your sister, or your parent, or whatever, because of the emotional tie involved. So you're going to want to pick someone as your healthcare agent who is going to be able to fight for you if need be. I had a gay client who made sure that they put their partner as their healthcare agent, and made sure that just in case the family's opinion might differ, that the partner's rock solid on what that person wanted. So it's really important to get your advanced planning done, because you never know. I mean, it's just out of the blue. Don, we were just talking about Kevin Smith, who had a massive heart attack at the age of 47. I mean, that's young. And luckily he survived, and he had a stent put in and got the widowmaker unblocked, and apparently now he's gone vegetarian, and he can breathe better than he's ever breathed, and has more energy because his lungs are getting more oxygen and everything. So yeah, I know. Meredith says, I love talking about my mom. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not upsetting talking about our loved ones who died. I mean, it might be emotional, but it's not upsetting. It doesn't have a negative connotation to it. Chanel says, never let your memories go. I lost my granny 9 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. And me and my mom still talk about her. We have laughs, often cry together a lot, but I'm there for my mom, and she was and still is devastated, by the loss of her mom. I know, it's so rough, but man, it's so comforting when you get to talk to people who knew your parents, loved your parents, or loved whoever, loved your loved one that passed as much as you did. I find it so comforting. I mean, now, especially that everybody's gone, I find it so comforting to talk to the few people who were able to at least, meet and, know my parents and my granny. And, that's a really lovely thing, because it's a bit isolating to know that you're the last one left, So, I mean, my poor granny, when she passed away when she was 95, she was the youngest of 11. All of her brothers and sisters were dead. Her mom and dad died. Her husband died. Her daughter, my mom, died. I mean, that's some cold ass shit right there, when you're just, everybody's gone, and she only had like one best friend that was still living, and she was in a nursing home that lived clear across town, but yeah, it's intense. So it's good to kind of keep talking about the memories of your loved one. And, another thing that I thought too was, even though I was in such pain after all of the losses, I still had my sense of humor. I still thought things were funny. I wanted to laugh. I mean, geez, that was like the best medicine. Yeah. I mean, but it's so kind of contrary. And that's what grief is too. It makes you feel crazy. You can feel lost and alone and kind of ditched by the person that died. And you're like, thanks for leaving me. I'm here stuck doing all the death chores. And also, how am I going to navigate life without you? And then, it's just so isolating. But then on the other hand, you've never felt so much love, because there's such an outpouring of attention and love towards you, because people, sympathize and send you their condolences. And it's such an odd kind of contradictory feeling, but it's just a huge jumble. Sharon says, my family's going on a family trip this year. Good. Now that Danny, your brother, is gone, we realize more that we need more time together, great memories, etc. Yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, and I'm going to wrap up here too, but that is a beautiful thing, is that make new memories when you can, and incorporate your loved one in those memories, and I'm sure that when Sharon hangs out with her family, that they're going to be talking about her brother and, keeping his memory alive. That's the thing, it's just so hard, those early days, especially if you've never experienced a death before. What advice would I give? You guys are coming up with such good advice. So let's see, just in summary, never let the memories go. Keep talking about the person that passed. And I know I didn't understand this initially, but your relationship changes with the deceased. It just kind of, they're still around you, I feel, but you're still connected. That connection is eternal. Dawn says, strange question. My fiance husband has been gone for almost 3 years. I was with him when he passed. I've also seen another pass. Would it help my grief to volunteer at a palliative care center? I feel like I could help them cross over and become like a dead midwife you've spoken about. I don't want a soul to pass alone. Well, that is beautiful. It's not a strange question, Dawn. Like you, death transformed my life, and I wanted to help other people. And so I wanted to explore all kinds of different things. I didn't know in what deathy area I was going to move into. So I tried a few different things, and I talked to people, and I researched, and I don't think there's a ton of death midwives in Ohio, but you can definitely Google and see if there's something there. You can already become a hospice volunteer. And then, that's kind of dipping your toes in the water. There's also what kind of sealed it for me and kind of gave me a little more clarity on what I wanted to do. I hadn't thought of Good to Go yet at that point, is I was trained with an amazing organization called the Twilight Brigade. And that was a very long weekend certification, and that was an intense process. But the Twilight Brigade believes that no veteran should die alone, so you're trained to sit with the dying. And so throughout that process, meeting other people who also felt they had a calling with some sort of death or grief or hospice, idea, they were, it made me feel less alone, first of all, and less of a freak, because after I experienced so much loss, I was just like doing research and reading deathy articles and listening to deathy podcasts and all of these things. So there's tons of resources out there that you can check out. And there's an amazing website. It's Sacred Crossings. They do death midwifery training, so you can check that out. I've got a lot of friends that have been certified through that organization. Granted, it is in California, and it's a little bit expensive, but I'm sure there's some kind of, chapter or something in the Midwest. There's got to be. Or, if nothing else, maybe in Chicago or maybe, Cleveland, one of the more major cities. Meredith says, I'm planning a trip to California soon. Woo, woo. Well, hopefully it'll be when the weather gets warm. It's a little chilly. It's like in the 50s here. But anyway, Dawn, I love your idea that you want to help, and that's a beautiful thing. You can even just go in and talk to people in your local hospice and say, I don't know if this is something I'd want to do, but, what do you think? And, give me a call. And I'm sure that they can put you in the right direction. I think it's really beautiful that you want to help other people. Okay, I've got to wrap up. It's so lovely to talk to you guys. And if you've lost someone recently, I am sending you so much love. It is so hard. It's probably loss is the hardest thing that I've ever had happen to me that I had to get through. But I'm here. I'm upright. I'm bathed. I still have a sense of humor. You're going to get through it. I am just sending you so much love and healing and sending you a big hug. Hang in there. Come over and visit me on Instagram. It's at Good to Go Peace, and Twitter. I'm going to be doing more tweets and stuff. And National Healthcare Decisions Day is coming up in April, so I'm going to be talking about that. I'm working on some new videos that I'm going to share with you guys. So lots of interesting stuff coming up with Good to Go. But again, we're going to go live next Wednesday at our new time at the top of the hour, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. East Coast, and 1 a.m. For the night owls oh, hi, Bob. Sorry, I missed you. It scrolls by so fast. Yeah, for those in the UK, 1 in the morning party on Facebook Live. But so good to talk to all you Grievers and Groovers, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. And if you're going to watch this later, then you'll hear the story about how I was almost arrested. If you watch it later, still feel free to comment and, give any kind of advice about how you got through the early days of grief. All right, Grievers and Groovers, take care, spread good vibes, and I love you guys. All right, bye.